where you just, I just can't get over how good you've got your station sounding up there. Where you've come from when I first talked to you till now. Boy, you've really done your work, buddy. Congratulations on that. Perry, you're back from WaWa with cookies and cream, so you just tell us about it. W3MMR with group. Here's KK4GZQ. How copy?
Oh, I got a great copy on you, Kevin. Make sure I got everything all right here. All right. And, yep, Craig, I'm going to be sending you a picture once my phone charges up a little bit here, so I can just make you just a tad bit jealous. Because I got a nice, fresh pint of cookies and cream milk, unopened, right here in front of me. Excuse my voice, I'm still a little under the weather. My throat's a little sore in the mornings until I get a drink or two in me, and that's not an alcoholic drink. So I go there, and I go over to the milk cooler, and I'm looking, and I see an empty row, and I look down at the tag, and it says cookies and cream milk, $1.29 for a pint. And mind you, that's $1 less than chocolate milk. A little pint of chocolate milk is $2.29. So I grab a thing of chocolate milk and I go up to the payout counter. I asked the guy, I said, hey, you wouldn't happen to have any cookies and cream milk in the back? Because if they still have the label up, that means they have it at some point. Still the tag up. So he went back there and he's like, how many you want? Should have said, just give me everyone you got. And I'll ship them out to you, Craig. But maybe I'll do that. I'll get a bunch of them together for you, and I'll mail you a little care package of cookies and cream milk from WaWa. That would be, I think you'd like that. But nope, yep, got a fresh pint of cookies and cream milk here, and a couple soft pretzels, and a fresh cup of bean. Yeah, but not much going on here. It's chilly this morning, 20 degrees here in southeast Pennsylvania this morning. I think it's going up to about 40. Seasonable for this time of year. But nevertheless, not too much else going on. Trying to finish building this double balanced tuner. Got all the parts here for it except for the vacuum variable capacitor. So might work on that a little bit today, depending on how motivated we are. So I'm not sure who I turn it to, Kevin or Dan, but whoever's supposed to pick it up, and I'll remember for next time. I'll write down the order here. W3MMR swinging it over to who knows who.
Give her to Craig.
Yeah, excuse me, KB3RHR. Yeah, I actually wrote down the order this morning. Holy cow. Now, be forewarned. I did this again. This is the second time I've done it, but you're on Facebook Live. The Morning Breakfast Crew is on Facebook Live on the AM Classic group. Is on Facebook Live. Of course, I have cut myself out of the shot because I don't really have a wide-angle lens, number one. And number two, I look like I was drugged from the back of a Ford F-150 on a dirt road for about 2 miles. So that's that story. So you guys are on there live. So say hello to the world. See, we got some guys from Brazil watching. So I don't know, man. I wonder if they have 75 AM roundtables down there. I don't know. I'm sure they do. So let's see. Well, cookies and cream, man. You know, here's a good question. I got to get on the WaWa site. I wonder where the closest one is in Pennsylvania off of the turnpike to me. Perry, I don't know. I don't know if they have them. Is there some in Lancaster? I can't remember. You might want to comment on that next go round. Of course, the WaWa the saga continues. Yeah, Dan, you know, they come in the yard. Those deer come in the yard every night. Of course, there's not a big buck there with them, but those doe, they hang out all day. They're probably laying in the bushes down in the field. just laughing, looking up at me, going, "There, look at this guy." And then at night they come out, but I really believe that chronic wasting disease has done its turn with the population here again. So we're down on that, but no big deal, man. I'd rather come in here and I give it the old banner effort, you know what I mean? I load the gun and put the clothes on and drag myself out there in the frost, in the cold, and I wait till a couple hours after light, and then I come back in here. Damn. That's the banner effort, you know, just like going through the motions, so it's okay. And everybody's got a great signal here this morning. I was up on 160 last night, CW contest, of course. So it put the old SX28 through its paces. Good little test to see how well you can tune out the CW. But the band was packed full of CW signals, so. But I ended up talking to a couple guys back west. So that was pretty cool. Did that, and not much else going on around here. We didn't do a darn thing yesterday. She's still a little sick. Yesterday morning, you know, like you said, Perry, the mornings are rough when you get that bug. It takes like till noon for that fog to burn off. But she's getting better. And I have yet to catch it, so that's on the plate, I'm sure. And Dan, you sound great. I don't know, you know, tearing that whole audio chain apart and redoing it. You did it right. Because it sounds like you, so that's always a good thing. When you tear that stuff up and reassemble it, if you're going to sound the same. So you did a good job there. And Steve is a big signal out of Buffalo. He's got that lake snow enhancement guaranteed for another 6 dB. Of course, he's next to the lake, but that lake snow enhancement's even better. You know, normal water is 3 dB gain. But when you throw that lake effect snow in there, it's guaranteed another 3 on top of that. So that's 6 dB a gain. Steve already has it ahead of all the rest of us. Of course, I don't know anybody that comes on here and talks on salt water, but that's a big gain. So, and good to hear you, Cress and Kevin, over there in Columbus. Good to hear you this morning. Everybody's just pounding in here. The WaWa Breakfast Gang. So over to you, Mr. Steve. Good morning to you, big signal pally. W2BNY in Buffalo, KB3RHR here near Pittsburgh. Over.
This portion of the Breakfast Club brought to you by WaWa. Okay, Craig and Perry, KB3RHR in the group, W2BNY. Yeah. I'm not sure if the lake enhancement does anything for the signal, but I like your theory, and I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, you guys are talking about sleep patterns. They certainly change as you get older, and Dan, I think you were talking about, when you have to work during the day, you have sort of a pattern of getting up early if you're on the day shift, and you sort of retain that. I know for years after I retired, I still was on the work schedule, and now it's sort of a strange thing. I get to bed very, very early and get up around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and sort of bounce around down to the shack. I remember reading a biography of Thomas Edison, and it was reported that he had a sort of regular sleep pattern. He would sleep for 4 hours, then he would get up for 4 hours, and then back to sleep for 4 hours, and he kept that pattern particularly when he was working in his labs. And I don't think I'm going to get down to that, 4 and 4, 4 sleep and 4 awake, but I think I'm coming to it anyway. Yeah, the propagation this morning is amazing. Again, the last week or so, the KP index has been down near 0, where it is right now. And that's just been great for 75 meters and 40 meters. And I hope this pattern continues into the winter. Yeah, okay, Dan, spotting the deer in the driveway. We have a few deer that come up into our, I guess you'd describe it as a city lot. They come in off the wooded areas and sometimes come in to eat our shrubs. I've got a setup in my backyard where if there are any deer, it triggers a light and a radio and an ultrasonic signal that's supposed to scare deer, and so it's been keeping them away, I think, from the bushes. So we've had that in place for the last couple of years. So, yeah, that cookies and cream stuff sounds pretty good, Perry. When you're sending out the care packages, why don't you make it a whole roundtable distribution? We'd love that, for sure. I am also confused as to the rotation this morning, and I think it goes to Chris, AJ1G in the group. Here it comes to you. If I've screwed up the rotation, you can straighten it out, perhaps. AJ1G, this is W2BNY.
Okay, to Kevin DMX, if he's still there, and then around the
here. Who do I turn it to?
I believe Dan was just saying it goes to Kevin DMX, and then to Chris. Is that what you said, Kevin? Or Dan? Excuse me.
if he's still there. Kevin DMX, you there, or you gone?
Yeah, DMX signed.
There we go. I'll mark him off the sheet. Go right ahead, Chris.
Okay, KK4GZQ in the morning AM gang. AJ1G, Chris in Stonington, Connecticut. Cookies and cream from WaWa. Boy, all the Penn State guys that I worked with before I retired, they were all gaga for WaWa. They're always looking for them. We travel down to Florida, and they'd see a WaWa, and they get all excited. I've been in a WaWa down in Orlando, and my son was there. They're pretty cool. They have great stuff. Great sandwiches, as I recall. Yeah, our morning, actually favorite milk around here, flavored milk, is something called maple bourbon pecan. My wife gets these skinny syrups at, and I kind of picked this one out because I really like it. She gets them at like TJ Maxx and Home Goods, which is just one big corporate, entity, pretty much. Sometimes the stores are even combined. And boy, the women love to go in those stores and spend hours and hours. In fact, that's where she was when I was working at DX last night down in Old Saybrook on the way home from the other end of the state. But they got these skinny syrups. They're artificially sweetened, basically for coffee. I take mine in my coffee, or sometimes I'll just put it in milk if I want to have a nightcap to settle my stomach or something. It's maple bourbon pecan. They got all sorts of flavors, all the standard ones like hazelnut and stuff like that. But at Christmas time especially, they bring out this maple bourbon pecan. It's great stuff. The bottles look like a bottle of booze. And I had a bottle in my desk at work, and I'd break the bottle out, and someone said, "Whoa, what are you drinking there?" It's just like a bottle of bourbon, really. And it's great stuff. It's got great flavor. That's my personal favorite. We tend to stockpile it, though, because after Christmas it just kind of disappears until the fall. So this year we stockpiled a whole bunch of bottles, and we also give them as gifts. It's great stuff. I think they're about $4, $5 a bottle at a Home Goods or a TJ Maxx. Yeah, great signals here, and yeah, Craig, you give me that the info on that Facebook Live. I was just trying to find it, and there's just so much out there. I got to write down exactly what the spot is. I was trying to pull it up on my phone here. Yeah, that's hey, one thing to keep in mind, everybody. The 11th, Wednesday, the 11th, W1AWs with good old Clark, N1BCG, is going to run a special operations from about 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1300 to midnight, or excuse me, 1300 to 1900 Eastern Time. working in the DX windows on 40 and 80 and maybe even 160 and 20 probably early on to make transatlantic contacts on sideband down in the DX windows. Commemorate the 98th anniversary of the first transatlantic amateur shortwave transmission reception from the United States over to Europe back during the DX transatlantic tests of 1921, 98 years ago, and that'll be happening on Wednesday. So it should be a lot of activity, a lot of fun to listen to that. We've been some of the guys I work on a regular basis down there at 37.99 typically in the UK. I've sent some emails to them to spread the word, and I told them to do a reverse Paul Revere. One of the guys is a big history buff, and I said, do a reverse Paul Revere and say the Yanks are coming amongst the groups over there. To get some people on the windows for Wednesday. So keep your ears out for that, and even try to participate if you can. I'll try from the Mobile wherever I am. I think we're not going to be on the ocean though. We're going to be up near the Hartford area. Maybe I'll go over to 1AW. I don't know. At any rate, I guess it goes to. I was turning it to Kevin, KD4UMU, and if that's not right, one of you guys maybe. Or excuse me, Dan, KD4UMU, Kevin GZQ, you can straighten things out. KD4UMU in the morning AM gang, AJ1G.
Kevin and I are getting a kick out of this, but Kevin's over in Lexington, KK4GZQ, and KD4UMU, Dan here in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, on the north edge of Fort Knox. But well, good. I'm glad we're both smoking the signal out of Kentucky down here this morning. And good morning to all the Facebook Live folks out there listening in around the world. And good to have you guys riding along with us this morning. And like I said, I had checked out Perry's, I think it was the AM station. Perry, I think that's what you call the, anyway, I got it saved on my favorites there on YouTube. And was listening to my audio yesterday. I just wanted to just see what it sounded like in somebody else's perspective. So that's why I got into this morning and kind of messing around a little bit with the audio channel. And I think we've got it pretty much set where it should be, hopefully. But thanks for the comments on that, Craig. So if we got her there, we're going to nail it down and leave her where she's at for a while. Anyway, yesterday I was messing around with my Trailblazer. I've got one of those 4.2-liter inline 6 engines in a 08 Trailblazer, and I was having some issues with multiple cylinder misfires, and of course, me being stupid on interrogating the computer system in the car correctly, I was parts swapping, hoping that I would actually run across what was causing the issue. And doing that by looking at some of the YouTube videos for some of the earlier model Trailblazers, which was not the right thing to do. Don't try to diagnose a problem on a car by watching YouTube. It's just not the right way to go. If you want to replace a part and someone has done it, yeah, good to do that, but don't try to diagnose a problem there. Anyway, essentially what I've got here is these OBD2 computers on most cars have those on them. And basically what I had to do was learn what short-term and long-term fuel trim percentages are and the voltages off of the O2 sensors. Both the forward and the aft sensor after the catalytic converter. And basically all your computer is doing is trying to keep that catalytic converter happy. Now, when you develop a problem, say like an air leak, or to run it lean, or maybe have some sticking injectors that will make it run rich, that short-term and long-term fuel trim along with the voltages off the O2 sensors will steer you in the right direction as to how to correct that situation. So, anyway, long and short of it, I put new fuel injectors in the car yesterday morning. So, got all that taken care of and backed it out, fired it up, and wouldn't you know it, all of the readings off the O2 sensors and short-term, long-term percentages went right back to normal where they should be. And I was stuck in what was called a open loop fault, which means which is how your car runs when it's cold or when you're in wide open throttle. But you know, not good for running down the road normally. It was just dumping so much fuel that it couldn't shut the injectors off enough to eliminate that overage of fuel back there at the catalytic converter. So anyway, long and short of it, it's fixed. But the question now is what damage has it created in the engine thus far? So, you know, you've got one injector dumping too much fuel, it's going to try to cut back the whole system. So I'm sure that there were cylinders that was running very lean, and which is not a good condition. But I don't know, maybe some of these future model cars that they're coming out with nowadays, they'll maybe have a temperature sensor on each exhaust port, so that when you run into these lean and rich conditions, that it doesn't touch the valves in the motor. So hopefully I haven't damaged the motor in the car. If it has, well, we'll just go get another one. So that's just how that goes. Anyway, here she comes, Kevin, around to you. KK4GZQ over in Nunsuch, Kentucky. KD4UMU here in Fort Knox.
Hey, Dan, just kind of dragging my feet there a little bit to make sure there wasn't any other braking stations out there this morning. Golly, what great signals. What a just from everybody. Chris, you're even strong coming from all the way up there from in Connecticut. You're 10 and 15 over down here this morning. Nice to hear you talking about your mobile operation. Like I said, I'd like to get a good mobile set up, but I don't know, you know, if it's just wasting my time trying to put something that's about halfway mediocre here on 75 meters, because we all know how that would be. Pretty much it'd be a listening situation, I guess. You know, and Dan and I get confused with operators all the time, and you know that's a great thing for me. But golly, poor Dan. I feel for him, Terry. W3MMR with the WaWa morning group. The WaWa, what did Craig call it? The WaWa Breakfast Club. Go ahead, Terry. KK4GZQ in the group.
Yeah, the WaWa, the WaWa Breakfast Club. What's funny, because usually every WaWa has a group of old men that hang out front by the trash cans every morning, smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, and BSing every morning. So we're that crew, but we're all over the country and transmitting on amplitude modulation with good sounding AM stations and big signals. That's funny. All right, I got a few things to comment on here. I'll try to make it quick, and hopefully it doesn't turn into an old buzzer, but there's a few things I do want to comment on here. Number one, before I forget, I just did a search, Craig. The WaWa that's closest to you in the farthest west is in East Petersburg, PA, just a little bit west of Lancaster. And then as soon as you get west of there, it turns into sheets country. And it's just sheets and Turkey Hills from there on out. So the farthest west WaWa is in East Petersburg, PA. And Dan, you sound great. The new audio sounds great. Super, super clean, Dan. Probably the best I've ever heard you. The levels are just right, and the EQing is just is perfect. I mean, it couldn't sound any better, in my opinion, Dan. And I'm glad you got a use out of my YouTube channel. Yeah, it's called the AM Window, WINDO, the AM Window on YouTube. So anybody who's out there listening, go give it a gander. Hit the subscribe button, and I try to put new videos up daily I try to put our sessions here in the morning. I try to record them every morning and put them up. The old military radio net on Saturdays, the AM carrier net on Sundays, and then the craziness that goes on in here in the evenings. I try to capture because that can get pretty eventful and pretty funny sometimes in the evening around here on in the AM ghetto, as they call it sometimes. And again, excuse my voice. I am still trying to get it cleaned up here. My voice, my throat cleared up here. And Dan, real good on the Trailblazer. That's what I had a feeling that's what it was. After we had exchanged a few emails back and forth, and you had told me all the things that you replaced. That's what I told you to check was the fuel trims, and that could the fuel trims can really tell you what pretty much everything that's going on with the engine. Anything over plus or minus 10%, you're going to have an issue somewhere. And I'm glad you were able to figure that out. And it ended up being the fuel injectors, because that's ended up. I just had a car. I think I said in the email. I just had a Toyota Camry with a real similar issue. It ended up being clogged fuel injectors. But what was happening? It was dumping fuel. And it was causing it to run bad, and it was causing a random cylinder misfire, and I couldn't track it down. And after testing all the coils, all the fuel injectors tested out, they all ohmed out. It had the right resistance. Checked for vacuum leaks, smoke tested the intake, so on and so forth, and then ended up pulling the fuel injectors out, and they were all carboned up. And once I cleaned the fuel injectors with some 2+2 gum cutter, and use what the trick is, since the fuel injector holes or the ports are so tiny, you just take small stranded wire, copper wire, and cut, strip back the insulation and get down to the individual strands. And if you're careful enough, you can take one of those individual strands and run it through the holes of the fuel injector. It's an old trick a guy I used to work for taught me. So you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on fuel injectors, because some fuel injectors, case in point for that Toyota Camry, were $100 a piece, $108 a piece at my cost. And that's shop cost. So that's not somebody's cost. You just walk on the street and go into AutoZone and buy one for. They were pretty pricey. So I salvaged them and put some fuel injector cleaner in a tank, ran an induction service on it to clean up the carbon and the intake and everything. And the thing has been running good ever since. So. Awesome with that, Dan. I'm glad you got that figured out, because I know you're pulling your hair out. You're about ready to get rid of the damn thing. Oh man, so I'm glad you got it all straight there. And Craig, you had mentioned about your wife having the bug as well. Yeah, I don't get out of this fog until 9 or 10 o'clock. Once I get up moving, get a couple cups of coffee in me, a bottle of water, and then I get I get the stiffness out of my bones there. But nevertheless, and Kevin, you're sounding great here this morning, as always, buddy. Big signal. Everybody's right up there, except for Craig. I mean, Craig's 35 over. I mean, there's nothing I can really much more say about that. He is definitely the channel master on the 21V2 this morning. Sounded real good there, buddy. So we'll keep it moving along here. And Chris, I don't know if you're on the D104 straight into the Central Electronics again this morning, but if you are, it sounds great. Super clean audio, and it's some of the best I've ever heard audio coming out of you, buddy. So we'll keep it moving along. Over to you, Craig. And I did send you a picture of some cookies and cream milk, and it tastes so good. KB3RHR, W3MMR.
Okay, W3MMR in the WaWa Breakfast Club. This is KB3RHR, Southwestern Pennsylvania. Wow, lots to talk about. Dan, every morning I get an open loop fault. Every morning. That's every morning I get up, man. Open loop fault. Open loop fault. Open loop fault. That's par for my course, man. I'm glad you're getting it figured out. Yep, these processors are something, man. Same thing at work, even just car processors or big control processors, they come up with faults, and sometimes the only way to get in is reset everything. and clear it all. So, and of course that takes a laptop, so it's not like you can just push a button on the processor and clear all the faults. So that's how that rolls. Yeah, the cookies and cream, man. Phew. That's a little far to drive. A little far to drive for me, buddy, to get that. Yeah, it's a Sheets WaWa War. I don't know what it is out in the Midwest. I don't know if it's Sheets or not, but that's a war, man. They probably drew the line there in Lancaster. Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of agreement, but I'm sure that if WaWa would open up and expand a little bit more, I think they'd knock Sheets out of the park. Maybe. I don't know. That's a Pepsi Coke thing. Pretty interesting stuff. Let's see. Kevin, sounded good. You're on the 610, I think, this morning. You're sounding good. I ended up posting a video up last night on YouTube. Brian, I traded Brian a Ranger for this SX28, and then I traded him another Ranger for something else, and he had that Ranger fired up last night here on 75. Cleanest audio I've ever heard, man. That's one of those ones where you're like, I can't believe I let that go. And I never really put it on the air. I just had it sitting here with aspirations of maybe putting it with a linear and get it on the air, but he had it straight power last night. It sounded really clean. So that's one of those ones that got away. You know, you can't have them all, I guess. It'd be nice to have a little station in every corner of the house, but so he got it, and he got it on the air, and it sounded great, so kudos to him. And Chris, yeah, Facebook Live, it's on the, you gotta belong to the AM, Amplitude Modulating AM Classic group on Facebook. And Facebook Live's just, you know, basically a stream. So I put it up this morning, something to do here since I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, this is my third cup of coffee already, so I'm good. I'm rolling. And Dan, yeah, you're right. We got to get them go to work. Get on that regime schedule every morning, and I think that's good, man. You know, all these retired guys, you know, I think I would just lay around till 9 o'clock and get up, but these retired guys tell me, man, that they're just busy all the time, and they don't get a break. So that's a good thing, I think. Keeps you going, because if you just lay here and lay around, that's what the health issues sneak up on you and clobber you. So that's a good thing to get rolling. So I'll probably keep on this schedule. I've been on this schedule most of my life anyway. But you know, it's I do take my naps. So Dan, don't get me wrong. Us working guys get our naps in on our days off. Usually, at least get one in, maybe for an hour or so. Anyways, up to you, Steve. Big signal out of Buffalo. I always joke with Michelle when we go up there. I see the sign at Erie. It says toward Buffalo, off of 79, and I just can't get Dances with Wolves out of my head where he's talking to the Indians, and that's the first word they exchanged. He learned in Indian was Tatanka. So every time I see the exit, I go Tatanka, Buffalo. So that's funny, man. Over to you, Steve. W2BNY. This is KB3RHR in the WaWa Breakfast Club group.
Okay, KB3RHR in the group. This is W2BNY. Yeah, very good, Craig. Signals are continuing to be exceptional this morning. I should point out, if the FCC is listening, none of us have a pecuniary interest in WaWa. Well, I say none of us. There might be some questions about Perry, but the rest of us are pretty good on that, I think. What else? Yeah, I'm just amazed that the signals are so good this morning. As I mentioned, the geomagnetic activity is very low, so I guess that's helping out. I'm going to make this my last transmission. This is game day up here in Buffalo. We're having the Buffalo Bills play against the Baltimore Ravens. And on game day, it's my job to make the pizza, the game day pizza. So I'm going to get up to the kitchen and start the dough. It goes through about 2 or 3 hours of rising and patting down until we put it in the oven. So we're going to start that process here in a few minutes. And I think the game is 1 p.m. this afternoon, so we'll be watching it. Anyway, I wish everybody a good day, and I'll be listening out here on the 3885 Breakfast Club, which is not sponsored. Not sponsored. Kevin, haven't heard from you recently. KK4GZQ in the group, W2BNY, 7-3's all.
Just walk back in here. Did Steve send it to me, Dan?
Yeah, it goes to Chris, then I guess Chris will send it to me, and then I'll send it to you.
Sounds good, Chris. 7-3, Steve. Good luck on the pizza today. AJ1G to take it. KK4GZQ in the group.
Yeah, okay, very good. The AM Breakfast Club. Well, it's really not breakfast. I don't think any one of us has had breakfast yet, unless Perry got something to eat over at the WaWa. Yeah, I just tried to find the nearest WaWa on their, on the web here. Went on their homepage. Went to the find a WaWa and a store locator, and it only lets you search out 20 miles, at least on the application I have on my iPhone here. And I know there's none within 20 miles. I'm sure all the Penn State guys. I all know how close the nearest one is. I do know the nearest Waffle House is somewhere down in maybe on 81 in Pennsylvania. I did that one time. When you travel up down south, every major intersection on 81, once you get south of the Mason-Dixon line, has a Waffle House and what's the restaurant with they sell all the junk in the front, and they have the rocking chairs and everything. They all have that, and then obviously gas stations. Yeah, we like the Waffle Houses too when we're driving south. Great places. Yeah, who was making the analogy? This is like a bunch of guys hanging out at the WaWa. Up here it'd be the Dunkin' Donuts. All the retirees hang out in the early morning, and just if you go to any Dunkin' Donuts and they've got a regular crowd that's in there all the time. And I was telling my son's mother-in-law, who's she's dating, so to speak, and I said, you should go check out I usually go out and get some donuts when we're up there visiting. I said, hey, you should check out the Dunkin' Donuts down there in Manchester. They even have in summertime, they have a gazebo outside they have a geezer gazebo where all the guys hang out. I said, hey, there's a big crowd down here, good choices. And we've even got some women's groups. I know one of the ones I go on Wesley have a bunch of older ladies that are there every day at a certain time. They all have their regulars. I just go in there and get coffee. I don't hang out at them. But you're right. This is like one big bunch of old geezers gassing at a WaWa or a Dunkin' Donuts. So, yeah, Craig, I pulled up the AM group Facebook page, and I see your link right at the top there for the streaming, but. I can't get it to go. It says to open an app. I don't have a Facebook app on the phone. It doesn't seem to want to open otherwise. I'll see if it'll open here on the iMac here in the shack. And, of course, Perry does a great job of posting all those videos up. Yeah, we've got, Pats are on at 4:30. I think it's home. And with Kansas City, Pats have been running, and they've been running into things like the Ravens. Ravens beat them up, and then I think that was who beat them last week? Was it the Ravens? Maybe, I don't know. But they knocked them out of they lost their home field advantage going in. They got to get their defense going. It's been sputtering lately. The guy in charge is getting old. And as long as the defense holds, they're okay. But they've had a couple of bad weeks here. We'll see how things go. So let's see, over to Kevin. Yeah, signals are really holding up here. Very good quality net. Thanks for the comments, Perry, on the audio here. Yeah, this is the Central Electronics 2120A with D104, amplified D104 directly into it. I am going to look into the JFET source follower mod to raise the input impedance from the crystal to the preamp, and that I saw some actual curves. Someone sent me a link from the K7DYY pages about a mod for a D104, and I guess there's a K7DYY processor you can even buy. I imagine it would work with almost any transmitter, but basically it puts like a source follower in there with a very high input impedance, and boy, that can really pull up the low end. I've done a lot of work with hydrophones over the years, and that's definitely an issue. You got to have a very high input impedance on a piezoelectric element to get good low frequency response. So anyhow, over to you, Kevin. KD4UMU and the Breakfast Club, AJ1G.
All right, very good there, Chris. And yeah, the 2120 is working pretty good and hearing you quite well. The band's really coming around. Sounds good down here. So your audio is coming up pretty good. Earlier on, starting out, a little bit of a rough copy, but not an issue now. When I was running my military radio, I had it was a solid state RF280 HF radio, and I ran that radio for years, and it was real difficult to get a good AM signal out of that. Now that thing was in what they call compatible AM mode there, which is I think it was upper sideband with injected carrier, but I went in and modified the thing to where I got double sideband with injected carrier, and I used the sideband filters to narrow the AM transmit, because it was using the FM filters, which was way too wide for AM. And in doing that, I must have stressed some of the tantalum capacitors there in the RF amplifier section. And that thing was just overly complicated to keep running. And I was having issues with those capacitors and stuff going out. So I finally found another ham down here who wanted to tackle that. So I let him, and gave him the radio and all the assorted spares and everything else that I had to go along with it. I said, have fun. So he has since got it up and running, which is pretty good. But anyway, like I say, whatever you do on it, wish you good luck. I hope you have fun messing with it there anyway. And yeah, Perry, yeah, thanks for the emails on diagnosing and all that kind of stuff for vehicles and all that. Basically what it did was, Perry, is gave me a good boot in the rear end to get me motivated to learn what all of that data meant. So once I finally went through and started learning what the data meant, it was clear as day what the problem was. So then I needed to just move in that direction. And like I was saying, maybe sometime in the future they'll set it up to where each individual cylinder can be monitored as far as temperature output and things like that. That way you could narrow it down. When this thing set this multiple cylinder misfire code, basically all that was the computer telling you, hey, something's wrong, without any clear definition as to what the problem was. And by all rights, it should have set a rich code on the computer instead of a multiple cylinder misfire, but did not do that. But maybe sometime in the future they'll get sophisticated enough to do that. I know that they're doing this on a lot of these small 4-cylinder aircraft. they're monitoring the exhaust temperatures. It seems like it was an inherent thing that the right rear cylinder would run hotter than the other three, and a lot of times that would lead to a cylinder getting too hot and the piston sticking in the cylinder and breaking a rod. And now you've got an aircraft that's got to do an emergency landing somewhere. So the fix for all of that was balancing out that temperature on the exhaust tube. So they got computer systems that monitor that and adjust the fuel flow so that you get a balance of temperature on those cylinder heads, which was great. That started reducing the amount of emergency landings that was going on there. But anyway, I guess it'll all catch up. Like it's not getting complicated enough to work on these vehicles. You always want to ask for a little more, but you wasn't doing that when you didn't know what was going on. But I was remembering back in the days of condensers and points and all of that kind of stuff. I think I still have a dwell meter out here in the garage somewhere with the timing light. So I'm back from the old school days, and learning this new stuff is, boy, it was like pulling teeth. But I'm getting there. Old dog and new tricks is not an easy thing, I guess. Well, anyway, sharing some stations down on 3878 lower sideband. Man, those guys are cranking the audio so hot that they're extending all the way up here where we're at in 3885. So, well, that is. Some of the guys just like that CB radio sound on the ham radio, I guess. And man, them dudes down there certainly got it. If your signal's extending on the upper sideband because you're driving the audio too daggone high on lower sideband, yeah, you're cranking it way too hard. And that's not good amateur practice. Well, anyway, I would assume the Florida AM group is going to want to get in here and maybe knock things around a little bit. Coming up time for those guys, so I'm going to go ahead and sign out on this round and say good morning to everybody. Enjoyed the round tables, and we'll send it around to Kevin, and hope you guys have a great day out there. KK4GZQ 73 from KD4UMU.
Hey, there's Jimmy, K5NSN recognized with also WD4NKA was in there a little earlier, guys. And I'll go ahead and pick up Jimmy here, K5NSN, and I'll tell you what, I'll pick up Gary. I heard Gary first, Jimmy. And then Gary, if you can make the turn out to Texas, K5NSN, go ahead, and if not, I will help you out. And Jimmy, you're going to send it to W3MMR, Whiskey 3 Mike Romeo. And Dan, 73 to you. Everybody's doing real well. Just wanted to make a comment about Craig's video he sent out on Brian's Ranger. I listened to a couple of seconds of that. Boy, it did sound good. Well, man, Liz did a couple of modifications on the one I have here, but I don't think it's quite that. And I love running my Ranger, but I am on the 610 this morning here on the old mousetrap here. Anyway, and Perry, you talked about the AM window that's there on YouTube. I'll check that out and subscribe to the page. And here what I'm doing, I've got today I've got my final hookup I'm going to make on the Innovonics. I've got it here, and I've got my another G-stand D104 wired and ready. The mic input on it is the little screw terminal for your ins and outs. So I've got a D104 set up here with spade ends on it, ready to go into the input. And I'll pick up another wire today there, another XLR cord over electric. fleet to hook up and start testing with the 222 here with the 610 here before too long. So we'll see how that happens. I hope that straightens me out and gets the audio even better here on the old mousetrap. With that, let's see. I'm going to send it out to Jimmy, K5NSN. And Jimmy, you're going down to Florida to WD4MKA. And then Gary's going to make... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually turning it to Gary, and then it goes out to NSN. So then NSN, you send it up to Perry, MMR. WD4MKA. Gary, are you still around? KK4GZQ in the group.
Yeah, KK4GZQ, WD4MMR.
There at the end of his transmit. K5NSN from WD4MKA. Morning again, Gary. Sorry I don't have that well good of a copy on you here. Pick it up, Jimmy, and send it up to W3MMR.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody out here on 3885. Transit is located in Weatherford, Texas, about 30 miles to the west of Fort Worth, Texas. And just rolled in from work about 10 minutes ago. Came in here on the radio to see what's going on. There's some good conditions happening here on 3885. So I thought I would fired and never say never.
Hey, good morning to you, Jimmy. K5NSN, W3MMR. Yeah, well, we make a pretty decent trip up here to Pennsylvania, southeastern Pennsylvania this morning. A little light, but nevertheless, I got probably 90% of what you said there, so you're making a good trip, Jimmy. Great to hear you, and I always enjoy seeing your posts on your Facebook group. You do a real good job with your group there, buddy, and I appreciate the advice and the help on the double balance tuner build. And your double balance tuner looks absolutely amazing. You do great work. And again, I love your shack. I love everything you got going on down there as well. So real good to hear you. Excuse me, here this morning. Still trying to clean up this throat. Hold on, let me get a sip here. All right, lube up the pipes. Man, I got to get rid of this cold. Anyway, I'm gonna make this my last one. I know Dan said something about the Florida AM group, and I don't want to get mixed up with them. They kind of, I can hear them up here, so I'm sure they can hear me down there. You know, I don't want to get in the middle of anything with them. So even though we were here first, but you know, there's plenty of room up and down the band to make things happen. So I'm gonna take a break for a little while here, and finish eating my soft pretzel and get another cup of coffee and drink my cookies and cream milk. But nevertheless, it's been real fun in here, guys. It always is. 73 to you, Steve, W2BNY. If you're still listening around, 73 to you, Chris, AJ1G. And you were talking about the Waffle Houses, and the other restaurant you were thinking of was Cracker Barrel, with the restaurant, you know, or with the gift shop in the front, the rocking chairs out front. My mother worked for Cracker Barrel for a little while. She actually just left there and went back to her own business. So I used to get a lot of free Cracker Barrel food not that long ago. But nevertheless, and Craig, you always sound great on the 21V2. Appreciate the live feed in the group this morning. And I don't know if you're going to keep it in there, but I'll go back and check it a little bit later. But from what I saw, the short bit I did see it looked great as always in the transmitter. Your shack looks phenomenal there. So 7:30 to you, Kevin. It's always great hearing you, buddy. And we'll talk to you guys a little bit later here from the land of the WaWa. Dan signed, so it goes over to you, Kevin. Or excuse me, where am I at here? It goes over to Craig, and then over to Chris. So over to you, Craig, if you're still in there. If not, go ahead, Chris, and pick it up. KB3RHR in the AM WaWa group. 7-3 guys from W3MMR.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'll jump out real quick. I want to hear the guys from Florida, so yield to them. Hello, Jimmy, if you can hear me. Good to hear you, Jimmy, come in this morning. K5NSN. I'll say 7-3, boys. I'll see if I can get into the Florida guys and say hello to them. So I am yielding. The man from Pennsylvania yields. This is KB3RHR. I don't know if Steve's still there or not, but over Steve.
Yeah, I think he signed. Over to you, Chris. 7-3, guys.
Okay, very good. KB3RHR and the Breakfast Club, I guess. I don't know if we're starting to call it now officially or what, but I like the AM gang, the morning AM gang. AJ1G, Chris in Stonington, Connecticut. Yeah, boy, great signals all around, and good morning to Jimmy down there in Texas. The band's always open to Texas, at least this time of morning. And yeah, I'm going to sign out here also. I'm going to poke around maybe a little in the DX window and then get ready to head out to Mass at 7 o'clock down at Stonington. It's just the church, St. Mary's, is just north of Stonington Point there, down in what's called Stonington Borough. It's a little enclave in the town of Stonington. It's the original village of Stonington from back in the day. And I always end up going down to the point after, sometimes before breakfast and work DX, and then sometimes after breakfast and just hang out and watch the sun come up. The sun's coming up pretty late here, like well after 7 today. So need to get ready for that, and I'm going to stop by the the DX window down there. I heard there's a guy down in Panama that's a regular. He's working Japanese stations right now. And yeah, the old Cracker Barrel. Oh, yep, there is one to us that's up in Warwick. We've been there many times, and yeah, they're great places. And yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like every time you go in one, it's like deja vu all over again. They all look very much the same. It's just that the trinkets on the wall are a little different from one to the other. I rode down to Daytona one time with my son Dave when he was doing some training down there, and he drove down in his old Volvo Turbo, and I rode along as an insurance policy, and then took a flight home from Jacksonville, and we stopped at a couple of the Cracker Barrels on the way down, and then we did the return trip the same way. I flew down and rode back with him, so we'd have two people there instead of one in case the old girl 240, it was an 83 240 Ford Turbo that made the trip fine. Used a bunch of oil. I think the seals on the turbo were going, but he kept that car for many years. In fact, at one point it was on Google Street View parked at his house today when he was living in Vernon, Connecticut. Now he's in Fulton, Connecticut. At any rate, 73, everybody, good morning. Have a great day. Hope all your football teams win. Keeping the fingers crossed for the Pats here. Kansas City's a tough contender, and boy, the Ravens really blew them away last time on that meeting. We'll catch you all probably tomorrow morning. It's been a regular thing here for me, and having a lot of fun. Just gassing with the guys on the morning AN gang. So over to Dan, KD4UMU 73. Everybody, good morning, and God bless you. God bless America. AJ1G.
Okay, Chris. Dan checked out of there. AJ1G with the group. KK4GZQ 73. Perry. Dan. Well, Steve is already gone. Craig went ahead and signed out. Looks like everybody's getting ready for the Florida AM group to come in here with the pre-net. I'm not going to keep it here, guys. I'm still looking for somebody to check in from down there. And Jimmy, K5NSN, sounded great on the highly modified Franken-Apache, if you will, with the 41000. And the vertical there that you worked so hard on, and Jimmy, you got everything sounding and looking excellent. What you put into the station down there definitely is, you can hear it and see it here on the air. And okay on smelling like diesel fuel. Well, you're just a hard-working guy, so that's just, I can sympathize with that in every way. And thank you for your comments about what I do for a living and my little, pretty much a one-man business that I have here. I get some help every now and then, Jimmy, but not all the time. And thank you on the comment of the meticulous nature. And Perry talked about Cracker Barrel, good place. My family really, probably one of our favorite places to go. Still with the rocking chairs, and I'm not much about the gift shop that you got to wait all crowded, standing up crowded, and all that, all the gift area. I'm not crazy about that, but other than that, I really like the prices, the food, the atmosphere, etc. So, anyway, Gary, I'm going to send it down your way. I'm actually going to sign out of here, but I'm going to let it help you and you turn it over to K5NSN. So I'll send it down your way, and you send it out to Jimmy. Good morning again to Chris, AJ1G. Chris, I didn't hear you sign. I know you and maybe you and RHR. Well, no, it looks like everybody has pretty much signed out. So with that, I'm going to send it down to WD4MKA, and Gary, drag your feet. The Florida AM group should be starting anytime. KK4GZQ in the group. Jerry and the noise. I'm not sure if he's still there or not. But Jimmy, it looks like you're going to end up pretty much cleaning things up for us out here, and maybe some of the others with the Florida AM group will start filing in here. 73 all the way around. It's been a pleasure to work all of you this morning. It's definitely a lot of fun. K5NSN to take it. Sign me out, Jimmy. KK4GZQ. So long for now.
Okay, real good, Kevin. Man, I'm sure glad I got in here in time to